Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here. FPL is back. It just launched yesterday and so are videos on the channel. So we're going to start off today with a first draft video. It's been a while since I've made content. It's been a really good break. I hope you guys have had a good break as well, but I'm raring to go with the content. So there will be kind of uploads once every 2 to 3 days. Hopefully it'll keep you guys entertained until the Premier League starts in mid-August. So I'm gonna start off today's video with just a very rough first draft. There are obviously a couple of spoilers in the thumbnail already that the bench boost is going to be active for me in game week 1. That is likely what I'm going to do, but just to kind of set the context as well before we start building the draft, I do feel like there have been a couple of changes this season that will see different styles of play, as compared to past seasons, because there's a couple of big changes. The most notable one for me, I'd say, is the chips, because if there are double chips in play, you get 2 bench boosts, 2 free hit, 2 wild cards, and also 2 triple captains, right? So in that sense, you have to utilize all 4 chips within the first half of the season. So game week 1 to game week 19, you have to utilize all those chips to maximize your benefit. So looking at this change just as it is, even without looking at the other changes, let's say the assist changes or the bonus point changes, the defensive contributions, etc., I think just based off of this chip change, I do feel like there has to be a shift in terms of how we approach the game. And so for myself, I started out considering when I want to use the first half of my chips for the earlier part of the season. And it came down to, firstly, wanting to use the bench boost before I wildcarded in the first half of the season, and mainly because I don't want to be carrying a very heavy squad with a bench that is really strong all the way through until my next wildcard in the second half of the season. So basically, having to play the bench boost, in the first half of the season can cause a bit of problems, especially with the player pricing, as we'll touch on later on, where, some players are really expensive. I mean, they've raised the bar in terms of the, 4.5 million defenders that used to be at that kind of price point last season have been raised to about 5.5, some even 6 million because of the defensive contributions changes. So I do feel like right now, the plan for me is to use the bench boost really early and get it out of the way. And I will touch on my further chip strategies as well in a later video, because that will take up quite a bit of time as well. But I do plan to wildcard for the time being in game week 4. I will expand on that in later videos. But with that kind of thinking, I will have to build a squad that is bench boostable in game week 1 and also able to take me through game weeks 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, I wildcard in game week 4. So I'll expand again on my chip strategy later on. But with this in mind, going into the draft proper now, I think with all that context, the first thing that I'll look at when I start building the draft is Salah and Haaland. Do I want to go with either of them? So both of them are really expensive. Right, Salah is at 14.5 million. I mean, it's really, really expensive. He's one of the most expensive players in the game, or he is the most expensive player in the game. But I look at the fixtures from game week 1 to game week 3. It's Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, and Arsenal at home in game week 3. Now, game week 2 and game week 3 are difficult fixtures. So game week 1 is the only one I'd have to worry about, and I'm very sure that he will be the most captained player in game week 1. He starts the season really well, and they're playing at Anfield, and they've bought some really good players in the transfer window, like Florian Wirtz and also Jeremy Frimpong, Kirkes as well. All these players would add to kind of the squad, but I do feel with the idea of building a bench boostable squad, it will be quite difficult to go with Salah and then still try to get a good squad balance overall. So the plan for now is to go without Salah and also to go without Haaland. Now, going without Haaland, I think his ownership would not be as high as Salah for sure. Right now, as I'm recording, the ownership is only about 17.5%. But looking at the fixtures, Wolves away, Tottenham at home, and Brighton away, these are actually fixtures that aren't too bad for Manchester City. Now, obviously, they have got Rodri back. They also have a couple of new signings. And I do feel like it could be the case that Erling Haaland does well. But because his ownership isn't that high, I don't think I have to worry too much. So the plan for now, as you can see where I'm leading to, is to go without both of these kind of 14-ish million players, so Haaland and Salah, and just spread the funds around only for 3 game weeks. I also won't dare to go without, either of these players for too long. So only for the first 3 game weeks. And with this in mind, I have to make sure that I have good enough captains for the first 3 game weeks as well. And this is where I started. So the first one is Cole Palmer, mainly for the game week 1 fixture, Crystal Palace. I mean, the fixtures over the first 3 game weeks are good for Chelsea, and that's mainly why I want to go for Chelsea players. But this Crystal Palace at home fixture is one where I think I can captain Cole Palmer in. He's likely still on penalties. I mean, it's yet to be seen whether João Pedro or Cole Palmer takes pens. But I do think like Cole Palmer is still kind of the creative outlet and someone I'm more comfortable captaining. See in game week 2 as well, West Ham away. But I do feel like there's a better captain in game week 2, and that is Bukayo Saka, who's also entering the team. So he's at 10 million. And the thing with Bukayo Saka is that he has Leeds at home in game week 2. So this is definitely one that I feel I want to captain Bukayo Saka in, and I will have to try and load up on Arsenal assets in game week 2 to take advantage of this. Now, as you guys can also tell, I'm going very aggressive in the first 3 game weeks, and I think overall as a general trend, with firstly more free transfers now, this season, because we have 5 in AFCON, and also with more chips available, likely you won't need to use that many transfers. Obviously, the usual caveats apply, like if injuries happen to players, these are unforeseen. But I think in general, FPL is encouraging a more aggressive style of play. And I'm going to tend to that. I'm going to kind of, go along with that and adapt my style of play towards that. I think playing aggressive is something that I haven't done so in previous seasons. But I think firstly, it makes the game more enjoyable. And secondly, I think I will be able to kind of target shorter term kind of picks a little bit better as well. So Saka in here for that Leeds fixture. I mean, obviously, later down the line in game week 3, he has Liverpool away. But this is when Salah would also be playing Arsenal. So tougher fixtures for both sides there. Now, aside from Saka, then the last one is Isak. Right, Isak is at 10.5 million, so same price as Cole Palmer. Thing with Isak is he has Leeds in game week 3, so it seems as if I'm targeting Leeds as a promoted side. I think in general they're not too bad, but I would fully back players like Isak or even Saka in game week 2 to do well against Leeds. So this is where I'm tending towards in terms of my semi-premium-ish kind of players, because if I don't have Salah and Haaland, I need to find captain assets elsewhere, and that's Saka, Palmer, and Isak here. So going along with this, then I started to fill in the squad. Now, the next player I actually looked at is kind of the underpriced players, and I do feel like there are 2 players this season that are severely underpriced, and that is Florian Wirtz and also Omar Marmoush. So I'll speak about Marmoush later on, but I look at Florian Wirtz, he actually does have pretty tricky fixtures, again similar to Salah in game week 2 and game week 3. So I might be happy to have him in game week 1, but 2 and 3 maybe not so, and then from game week 4 I'm wildcarding already. So in that sense, do I really need to go with Florian Wirtz, or could I go for Omar Marmoush? So I think I'm tending a little bit more to Marmoush. The thing with Marmoush is I don't really know if he is nailed. That's the only thing, right? Because there's quite a number of attackers, again, as always, in the Man City squad. Pep roulette is always a thing. So the thing with Marmoush is the fixtures are good, right? Wolves away, Tottenham at home, and Brighton away. So I think for now, I kind of slightly prefer Marmoush over Florian Wirtz just for the fixtures. I'm happier to keep him for the first 3 game weeks if we are able to see in pre-season that he starts regularly. Now, aside from Omar Marmoush, I think looking at some of the fixtures for the first 3 game weeks, Aston Villa is also a team that have stood out to me. And I look at Ollie Watkins. He is very, very expensive. Right, Ollie Watkins is at 9 million. He's also not on penalties. Fixtures are okay, as I've said in the first 3 to 4, or even up to game week 5 with Sunderland away. But really, I'm only considering the first three, and I feel like 9 million is a little bit too expensive. He's not even on pens, so I think I'm gonna go for Rogers here to cover the Aston Villa fixtures. And Rogers is only at 7 million. Right, so I'm happy to have Rogers and start him for the first 3 game weeks. Looking elsewhere as well. So I'm literally kind of showing you guys my thought process as I built the draft to show you kind of the constraints and why I've gone with certain players. So Rogers here, 7 million is in the squad, and this is when I started to look at defenders now. So looking at my defenders, I do feel like I want at least one premium defender. And for now, I had a look at 8 Nuri. He is at 6 million, but the only concern for me with 8 Nuri is whether he's nailed. I mean, he will be playing left back if he plays, but if not, I look at Gvardiol as someone that I don't think Pep is going to kind of bench so easily as well. I think Gvardiol is more nailed than 8 Nuri. So in that sense, I prefer to go for a little bit safer of a pick if I'm going to bench boost in game week 1. So for now, it's Gvardiol. He may still play left back, it's not necessary that 8 Nuri starts every game, so we'll see. So Gvardiol is in the squad now. Aside from Gvardiol, I look at the other defenders that I think I want to kind of capitalize on, and I think the Chelsea defense is definitely somewhere I want to go. But I look at Cucurella as someone at 6 million that is rather pricey. Again, I am having a bit of a budget constraint because I want to have a bench boostable squad. So I've chosen to go for Levi Colwell here, who plays centre back. So the thing with Levi Colwell is he will be one of those players that is, obviously, playing centre back, you would tend to get a little bit more of those defensive contributions, whether it's clearances, blocks, tackles, etc. So at 5 million, I think there's a nice kind of benefit for him there, and also it helps me to cover the Chelsea defense. So aside from going for someone like a Sanchez, I think going for Colwell here is what I prefer for now. And then just to wrap up the kind of Chelsea assets that I like, because the first three fixtures are really good for Chelsea. I think João Pedro is someone that I really, really want. So I look at João Pedro as someone that is likely going to be the number 9. I mean, there is Nicholas Jackson. Whether or not he leaves Chelsea remains to be seen. But I do feel like João Pedro has obviously started his career in Chelsea really well in the Club World Cup. You saw him score lots of goals. He also did really well in the final. So I think in general, João Pedro is a player that Enzo Maresca is likely going to stick with for the number 9 spot. Against Palace, West Ham, Fulham, I fully think João Pedro could do some damage there. Right, so it kind of protects me a little bit, having both João Pedro and Palmer in case either one takes pens. Alright, so I do feel like this is where I'm going in terms of my Chelsea triple up. And then this is where I start to try and fill in the gaps, because I have 35 million left and I have quite a couple of slots left. So I start with the goalkeepers. Now, the first one that I've chosen to go for is Matt Sells. Now, I can't go for Robert Sanchez here because I already have 3 Chelsea players. So Matt Sells is a player that I look at the fixtures for Matt Sells. It's Brentford at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham at home. These first 3 fixtures are actually pretty good from a defensive standpoint, and as I've mentioned, I don't really need to think too far because I'll be wild carding in game week 4 already. So Nottingham Forest, the last few games that they've played last season, they did slip off a little bit in terms of defensive standards, but I think going into this season, especially having a couple of home games here, Brentford at home, West Ham at home, I do feel like they could start the season off strong defensively. They've lost a couple of attackers, but defensively, it's still those same core assets, and I think it could hold up well against Brentford, who, have lost a couple of attacking players, and also the other, 2 teams that they play in game week 2 and game week 3. So that's for Matt Sells. And then I look at a goalkeeper that I think would be cheap enough and still plays, and I have Areola. So looking at Areola here at 4.5 million, I could go for Kinski, who has Burnley at home in game week 1, right? Areola here is at 4.5. I'll put Kinski in just for discussion purposes, and Kinski is at 4 million, right? He has Burnley at home, and if I only need to use him for 1 game week, I don't mind it. But right now, it's not 100% sure whether Kinski is going to play or Vicario. So for now, I've gone with a 4.5 Areola because he does have a decent enough fixture in Sunderland away in game week 1. And going by that same thread, there's also Wan-Bissaka that I've chosen to go for. So Wan-Bissaka is a player that defensively I look at, again, Sunderland away, a good game for him to get a clean sheet, but also the attacking threat for him, we can really see that. He's not a player that I back a lot to get defensive contributions, but I have other players to cover for that. I think Wan-Bissaka in and of himself with the attacking threat is a really, really good player. Now, again, you see 21 million, not a lot of budget left. So I go into the attack now to fill in a spot. And I think I have to look really cheap here. I can't go too expensive. So I look at the, forward options in terms of the really cheap ones. And the one that really stands out to me is actually Beto at 5.5 million because he has Leeds away. We did see just now already the Everton fixtures are pretty decent, right? It's Leeds away, Brighton at home, Wolves away. So I think having a bit of a punt, 5.5 million on Beto, who's someone who ended the season quite well. I don't mind it. He's not someone I'm going to hold for the long term. So a bit of a differential there for Beto. Now, looking elsewhere, this is where, again, budget is a constraint, 15.5. So I'm going to go for cheap defenders now. And I think the one that stands out at 4.5 million is D. Cooper. Now, I look at D. Cooper as someone that, firstly, I didn't have, I wasn't fully confident he's going to start every single game because Estupiñán was still in the squad. But just before recording this video, Estupiñán has now moved to AC Milan and it's been confirmed, here we go, by Fabrizio Romano. So the left back spot is probably D. Cooper's to lose. And it's pretty decent fixtures, right? Fulham at home, Everton away. Man City in game week 3, I won't be playing him because I have good enough rotation options for game week 3. And then game week 4, I'm going to wildcard already. So looking at that, for the first 3 game weeks, I quite like it that D. Cooper is someone who, with a bit of attacking threat as well, because you saw in preseason, I saw in yesterday's game, he advanced quite far forward. And the way that he interacted with Mitoma was more that Mitoma stayed out wide and D. Cooper was able to advance further forward and closer to the penalty box area. So I do like it, and I think he will be someone that's going to get a good number of attacking returns as well. So D. Cooper is in here. Now, I'm left with 2 slots, and I look at defensive options that I still will be able to kind of be comfortable fielding, and it's Mykolenko from Everton. So Mykolenko here at 5 million is someone that I'm not 100% certain I want to go for because there's also O'Brien, if I can get his name right. Yeah, O'Brien is someone that obviously also plays Leeds, but he's someone really, really big in stature and could really pose an aerial threat going forward in corners. Both of them are same price. It's a close fight for me between the two of them. For now, I've chosen to go with Mykolenko, but it could very well, become O'Brien closer to the game week 1 deadline. So there I have a pretty decent squad structure already. And now I have 6 million to choose a midfielder. I could, if in future drafts, if I'm comfortable enough to go with Kinski, instead of Areola, I'll be able to free up an extra 0.5 from this goalkeeper spot, and then this midfielder spot can become 6.5 million. That does open up a little bit more options, but looking at the 6 million options, looking at midfielders as well at the 6 million options. By the way, the kind of UI for the website is really bad. So I'm waiting for Fantasy Football Hub to get their website up and then we can move our content over there. But looking at the 6 million options, not a lot stand out here. And again, considering the first 3 game weeks as well, going for players that I would want to be able to field for at least 3 game weeks, it's Hudson-Odoi for me, right? Because obviously, Anthony Elanga is gone. Probably the attacking threat of Nottingham Forest as a whole drops down a little bit, but Hudson-Odoi as a punt for the first 3 game weeks, why not? Right, so I look elsewhere. There's Minte, also at 6 million, but you bear in mind that in game week 3, they will have Man City at home, right? And then I go further down the line, it's going into the Caicedo range already at 5.5 million, right? So I think in general, looking at this squad, sells Areola as my keepers, right? De Cooper, Colwell, Mykolenko, Variol, and Wan-Bissaka. So 1 premium 6 million defender in Variol, and then 2 5 millions in Colwell and Mykolenko, followed by 2 4.5s in De Cooper and Wan-Bissaka. And then there's Saka in midfield. Palmer as the other semi-premium in midfield, and then kind of the 8.5 million range, I have Marmoush. 7 million, I have Rogers. 6 million, I have Hudson-Odoi. So I kind of nail a bit of the different price points. The only one that I don't is obviously the Salah price point, but I probably will bring him in from game week 4 onwards. And then up front is João Pedro, Beto, and Isak. So there we go with my first draft. Let me know what you guys think. Now, obviously, as I've mentioned as a caveat, this is a bench boost squad. It's going to look very different from a lot of the other drafts that you see, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, because the aim of this squad is firstly to bench boost in game week 1, and then to get through the first 3 game weeks before I wildcard in game week 5. I will expand on my chip strategy and why I've chosen to do this, at least for now, right? Things obviously can change, but at least for now, this is the plan. I'll expand on it in a later video, but I hope this video at least gave you guys an idea of where my mind is at, and also some of the players that I kind of prefer in general when I look at the whole player pool. So let me know what you guys think of this draft. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's also a bit of a different style because moving forward into the new season, I'm going to hope to be able to use this kind of a new video style to point out different statistics, and I think it allows me to explain my thought process a little bit better. So let me know what you think of the new layout of the videos as well, and the different kind of zoom in, zoom out effects that you see. If you like it, let me know in the comments below how can I improve it. If not, I will see you in the next video. Please do like, please do subscribe, and I'll catch you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.